In this video, we're going to take a look at how to use a cabinet cut list importer to import some data from an external cabinet software. Now at this stage, if you haven't watched the first two videos in this series, I would pause this video here and go down to the description below and have a look at the videos that are tagged. In this case, there was a video which is the first in the order, which is exporting from third-party cabinet software, and the second video is how to create a template for your cabinet cut import list. So at this stage, go watch those videos first, and then you can pop back to this video, which is the last in this series. So with that in mind, if you've watched those videos, we can go up to the top left and we can click on File and click on Import Cabinet Cut List. Now right away, we can see we have our screen with a 5-step process, and we've got some information here that we can take a look at on the screen. So first and foremost, we have the source program, and in my case, I used KCD. If you recall from the previous videos, I had made an export from KCD for a kitchen cabinet file, and you can see in the next part here, I've got my part list and my parts folder for that. So at the top here, we make sure that our source program is selected. So in this case, it is KCD. And then for our part list, as I mentioned, this is the CSV file, or the comma separated file that we had created previously. Now if I click on Browse, this will show me the location of that file, so I can select it from here. So in this case, it was my kitchen_cnclist.txt file, which is my comma separated file in this case. And again, for my parts folder, which is the folder which houses this part list, I can click on Browse, and I'm just making sure it's kitchen, and I can click on select folder. And then lastly, all we need to do is select our template file, which we made in our last video. So again, we can click on Browse, and in this case, it was my kitchen template.crvt file. I can click on Open, and then we are good to go. We can click on Load Parts to start loading in our template parts. Now you can see here, we're now onto the second step. So it says here, loaded parts on the left-hand side. And right away, we can see that we have all the information from our exported data displayed here. We've got the part DXF name, the material name, width, height, depth, units, whether it can be rotated, and the quantity of each of these parts as well. And at the bottom here, you can see we've also got our materials from our exported data. Now the name has been imported from the exported data, so the 3/4-inch solid wood, the melamine, the plywood, and the 1/4-inch plywood. But crucially, this data here, the width, height, and depth, is from the sheets, if you recall, that I'd set up in my template in the last video. So all of this data here is reflective of the sheet setup I had done manually for my template in the last video. So that's the template data being pulled through there for me. But with that in mind, we can click on Next to go to the next part of the form, which is the labels. And again, on the left-hand side here, you can see we're on step 3 for labels, and we have all of our labeled data here. Now, the first option you have here is to generate the part labels. Now, in this case, if you don't want to generate part labels, all you need to do is simply uncheck this box, and then you will not generate any part labels. But in this case, I do want to do that, so let's make sure that our box is checked, and we can go through the various options available to us. Now the first one is the label size. So these are industry standard label sizes. So you can see here we've got the Avery 2.625 by 1. We've got the Dymo 2.5 and 3.5 respectively. And then we have 1.75 by 2/3 and 1.75 by 0.5, etc. And so we can choose our different label sizes here to our personal preference. Now in this case, I want the Dymo 3.5 by 1.125, and you can see a plethora of information on our label here, and we'll go through these as we go through the form. Now first and foremost, we have the font size. Now currently it's set to 20, but if I change that to something a little larger, so for example 30, you will see that reflected on the label in the view on the right hand side here. Similarly, if I change that back down to something like 10, you'll see it's also reflected here. But for now, I'm actually quite happy with that middle ground of 20. That looks good to me, nice and legible. And then the next thing I can have a look at is the code type. Now, the code type is actually this section here in the top left of the label form. So you can see currently it is a barcode. Now, if I click onto this drop-down list for the code type, you'll see I've got barcode, code 128 currently selected. But if I click on none, there'll be nothing there. So that is one way to get rid of it if you do not want to have any code type. You can have a QR code. And finally, there is also a data matrix option available as well. In this case, though, I was happy with the barcode, so I will stick with the barcode for the moment. And then finally, we have the option to include part geometry. Now, if you pay attention to the label on the right-hand side here, if I uncheck this box, you'll see that the part geometry has now disappeared from the label. It's been removed. But if we check that box again, you'll see it is right here, available to see nice and clear our geometry for our particular part there. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is click on next to now have a look at the import. Now notice here on the import screen we have calculate toolpaths checked, and the reason for that is because we want the software to do all of the legwork for us. Now if you recall in the last video we had created our template to create our toolpaths and to apply our toolpaths to specific layers. And then with this option checked for calculate toolpaths, what will happen is the software will use the data from the template to apply those toolpaths to all of the relevant vector data across all layers, across all of the sheets. So it's doing all the hard work for you, which will save you a ton of time. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and click on import to get all of our data into our file. And here we have the result of our import. You can see at the top here we have the name of our sheets along with the width, height, depth and the quantity on each one of the sheets. We can see the total nested parts in the top right here as well. And then at the bottom here you can see we've got a toolpath summary. So we've got the toolpath name, we've got whether it's calculated okay or not, and we've also got the machining time. Now an important thing to note about the machining time here is that this will be incorrect until you have set your scale factor. So if you'd like to know more about how to set your scale factor and to get more accurate machining times, we'll have a dedicated link for a video below for you, but you can also search that on our website as well. And while we're at this, we can go over to the sheet option just over to the right here, and we can click on the drop down to change the sheet so we can look at the data for toolpathing on the other sheets. And again, you get the data for whether the toolpath has calculated okay, and if the machining time is short or long, or if it needs adjusting. You can of course use this information to inform any of your toolpathing later on as well. So you can see here I can go through each one of my individual sheets here and have a look at some of the data on it. But for now I'm happy with how that looks, but I can see here in the very bottom I've got 2 warnings. So I'm going to have a look at the details for them by clicking on this button here. Now what this warning is telling me is that the cut depth I have for my toolpaths is actually going past the depth of my sheet thickness. So you can see here I've got a 0.5 inch thick sheet, but my cut depth is going past that by 0.25 inches to a total of 0.75. Now this is really useful information because this tells me right away that I've got a cut that goes deeper than the thickness of my material. Now in my case I have a spoil board, so it's not too much of an issue. But this is a good place to review your imports because this is going to tell you about your toolpaths and any of them may be problematic in terms of cutting through your material. So I highly recommend that when you come to use the importer that you always check the warnings to check that any damage isn't done to your tooling or to your cut in the end. But in this case I do have a sacrificial spoil board set up for this reason, so I can click OK. And with that all good to go, I can now click on finish to finish up our import. So you can see here I've now got my import in front of me, and if I just zoom in quickly, you can see here I've got my labels here as well. And if I just switch over to the 3D view, and if I turn on the images there, you can see as well, if I zoom in, we've got all of our data and how we had set it up for our labels all ready to go on our parts there as well. And if I go back to the 2D view and I zoom to active limits, you'll see that all of my sheets here have been populated with the relevant data from our export data, which has now been imported into our sheets. And again, if I go to the top left hand side here and I click on my sheets, you can see all of the sheet data here as well as the very top of the software here in the sheet manager as well. Now let's pop over to the toolpath command menu. So if I just click on this button here and then left mouse click to pin the toolpath menu there, You can see here that we've got all of our toolpath data for the current sheet populated on the right hand side here. You'll notice that we have a drop down here to display all of our sheets, so it's nice and clear as to which sheet we are on. And you will see that there is a difference between the top toolpath here and the three below it, because the three below it have an exclamation mark. So let's have a look at what this means. I'm going to pop over to the 3D view just briefly, just to have a look at this toolpath. So let's check that toolpath, and you can see it's doing a cutout pass around all of these panels. And what has happened here is that all of our hard work previously when we had set up our template for our import data has taken effect. So if you recall in the last video, we had set up our template to automatically apply a cutout pass to data on a specific layer, and the software has picked up during the import that that layer exists on this sheet and therefore has applied that toolpath to this sheet. So it's automatically done that for you. And the software has also recognized with the other toolpaths you can see here that there is not the layer data for that toolpath on this sheet. So that is what the exclamation mark here means in red. It is telling you that no toolpath data was found for any vector data, because that vector data or that layer data we had associated with that toolpath does not exist on this sheet. So let's switch through the sheets and we'll have a look at some of the other sheets as well. And you can see here that this time we have the cutout is available, we have our pockets available, we have our drill holes, but there is one pocket it did not find data for, because again, that layer association data was not on this sheet. So you can see already how much the software has done the legwork for you by taking your export data and the template and using it to your advantage to recalculate all those toolpaths and find toolpath data and vector data on the relevant sheets for you, saving you a whole lot of time. And speaking of calculating toolpaths, if you ever want to manually recalculate the toolpaths, you can do so if you follow my mouse pointer to the top right here, and we'll click on this icon here to recalculate all toolpaths. The software will go through each sheet and recalculate the toolpaths for us. And then finally, you can see here we get this warning message that you may recognize from earlier from the import form, telling us that we have some sheets where the toolpath will cut through the sheet and past it a little bit of a distance. But we were already aware of this, but it's always good to double check your warning messages to make sure that you haven't missed anything that could be potentially dangerous. So let's click OK. And then we have another message. Now, what this message is referring to is that the following toolpath data could not be found. And that's because it is referring to the toolpath that I had referred to earlier with the red exclamation mark, where the software had not found toolpath data for layers or vectors on specific sheets. So we knew about this already, but the software is informing you that it couldn't find data for these particular toolpaths, but we knew about this already. So that's okay. We can just click OK and come out of that menu. And then finally, we can have a look at the final part of this demonstration, which is learning how to print our labels. So first, what we're going to do is change to a different sheet. We're going to change to the plywood sheet, just so we can see our labels nice and clear in the background here. We can see here we've got our label in our sheet here. And then we're going to go over to the very top left of the software, click on File, and then click on Print Labels. Now, you'll recognize some of these options from the previous import form, but we can go through them again here. So we've got label size. So again, these are industry standard label sizes. In this case, I will go for Dymo 3.5 by 1.125, but of course you can change it to one of the various options you have available to you here based on your preferences. I'm going to change the font size just to be a little bit bigger. I'm going to change it to 25, and I'm actually going to change the barcode to a QR code. And then at this stage I can actually remove the labels, which will remove them from the document here, or I can hit apply to apply these changes. So if I click on apply, you should see in the background the software will update our labels for us on our sheet. So we'll just wait for that to happen as it updates in the background for us. And there we are. You can see here in the background my font has gotten a little bit bigger because I've changed it from 20 to 25, and you can now see clearly there's my QR code, so the change has taken place. And then finally you can see at the bottom here we have our print layout. So we can set the margin for our side margin, and it is in the unit of millimeters. We have our top margin, and we have a horizontal gap and vertical gap, which in this case refer to the gap between the labels. So you can set a gap, for example, of 10 millimeters between each label and 10 millimeters, vertically as well as horizontally. And then we can set that here, and then we are all good to go for our label setup. So when we're happy with all of the label setup, we can press print to send that off to our printer, ready to label our parts. And that completes this series on how to use the cabinet cut list feature in the advanced machining module. And we thank you kindly for watching.